A very much a warm greetings to everyone present here. On behalf of Team Own Your Growth, we are here with another session on innovations in treatment of lifestyle illness by Dr. Malhaganla. He is a clinical specialist in obesity from Auckland, New Zealand. His area of work primarily involves diabetes, diabetes, child, adolescent, and adult obesity. I know it's a amalgamation of two words. So
Yeah.
he's the chief innovation officer at Freedom from Diabetes, a Pune-based organization reversing diabetes across the world. FFD has the unique distinction of having helped 10,000 patients go off medication and aims to enable 10,000 more than a lakh participants to live medication free in the next few years. That's a really a big goal to have, and glad to have you on our session today, sir. And over to you. Maybe you can start off with a brief intro of what is FFD all about and your work expertise. And yeah.
Yeah. So I think all of you now, I think we have all come to the conclusion that obesity and diabetes in a way is here to stay now. I mean, these were illnesses that were part of developed countries first, but now they have kind of come to India also. And we have become a sort of country of extremes now. We have extreme, we have poor on one end, and we have, the other end, which is got what we call the affluenza series of diseases. So the influenza and the affluenza. So we have people who are constantly suffering lifestyle illnesses where there's too much to eat, and on the other side we have malnourishment. So there's malnourishment and malnourishment. So between the two, the opportunity for healthcare practitioners becomes very difficult, because half the time you're looking for nutritional deficiency, and on the other side there's too much nutrition, over nutrition happening. These are typically diseases which come from here. So FFD is mostly targeting, in a way, lifestyle illnesses. So everything that starts, like we call it, it starts with one bud and then it grows into a whole tree. So it starts with as simple as overnutrition, and then moves on to there's blood pressure and many other things. And as doctors, we love enumerating names of this and that and this and that, and keep talking about big terms like hyperlipidemia and things like that. But it's not necessary to keep enumerating those terminologies. They are all parts, all leaves of the same branches of the same tree. So end of the day, when we use the word reversal essentially means reverse aging. So all of us are, we are all like bullet trains. We are aging anyway. We're all going to age faster than natural, and you're going to look 10 years older at every decade of your life. And while it may be okay at a younger stage, when you're in your 20s, you want to look in your 30s and you want to look wiser than you actually are. But when you'll get to 30s, you'll really realize your hair has become whiter than it needs to be. Your stomach is that of a 50-year-old. And then when you're 50, you'll look 70. And then your lab reports one day will show it. And then you'll wonder, okay, how do I become 30 again? And then that's what it's about. So half the time you're trying to get older, and the rest of the time you're trying to get younger. So it can't be that, it's not that complicated. But reversal essentially means reverse aging. And the aim of reverse aging is nothing but graceful aging. So you got to age relatively gracefully. There's like one of my friends jokingly told me, he said, I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm busy aging disgracefully. I said, right. So he said, that's because that's what it is. When you just eat countless calories and you just keep pigging out all the time and do no exercise at all, eventually you are going to age disgracefully, because one day the system is going to throw something at you and say, now enough, and then you keep running around to different doctors looking for solutions. So end of the day, most lifestyle illnesses are created. But then there is the genetic component. As we've in lifestyle medicine, the quote is called that your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So your genes do load the gun, yes. And now we all have at least one or two grandparents who were diabetic. We have at least one parent who may or may not be diabetic. So at that rate, the genes are definitely loaded. Blood pressures in every house. And there is scientific evidence to prove that there is genetic transmission of all this. Okay, we may not say cancer is inherited. We can't say it for a fact. But can we avoid it? Maybe, maybe not. Is there genetic testing? Maybe, maybe not. Would you go test yourself for cancer? I don't know. but the science when it comes to smoking and drinking and diabetes and excess eating and oily food. The science is there and there's enough evidence, but still for some reason there is a lot of difficulty for people to drift towards a healthier life. So it's very difficult. And like, I call myself a gym salesman. I'm effectively a gym salesman. After all the 9 degrees and everything, I'm basically telling people to go to the gym, because when he starts working out in a few days, he starts eating healthier, because he gets that feedback from his body. It's not rocket science, but people want complicated, complex diet charts with, you have this and you don't have that, and 3 grams of this seed and 2 grams of that seed. After a while, it's not going to happen every day. So you are going to go to restaurants and you are going to eat. So this is the causative part of it. And as we go up the ladder now, in the next 20 years, you're going to have armies of people. It's going to be stadiums filled with people with these kind of illnesses. And I think as healthcare providers, we have to step up the game. Yeah, I mean, there is money to be made. If that's only opportunity there is, then you can just sit and sell little puddies of the best magic potions if you want. You can do that. You can just keep selling magic potions and make a little money there. Or you can generally transform people's lives. But that's an opportunity. Not everyone will take it. I think a lot of people, and again, I'm not against people who are trying to make a living. There's no harm in making a living in any profession. But if you're just going to do it by transactionally treating a patient, which is all transactional, I get the money, you get the treatment, that's okay. But then neither you nor him will transform. It's a transaction. It's like buying bread. You go, आज यहाँ नहीं मिला, मैं कहीं और bread खरीद रहा हूँ, because मैं तो bread ही खरीद. The product was the bread. The product was never the baker and never the loyalty or anything. It was just the bread. So if you guys can evolve your level of engagement with your science to a point where it has become a transformation experience for the patient. And by transformation, it doesn't mean he becomes something you wanted him to become. It becomes liberation, where he has liberated himself of what was troubling. He had chains around his legs. You have helped him remove the chains, yes, but then that's what he paid you for. Beyond that, have you helped him now gain such a level of knowledge and inspiration that the chains never come back? And that is the realm of actual expansion. You've gone beyond your call, because dossier, what doctor stands for, right? It stands for dossier, which is to teach. But from to teach, it became to treat. So and then that's why I said it all depends how you look at what your craft is. Like, we at FFD are purely teaching. We call it 3 months of education and support, and after that is just inspiration. Because finally, most people are just looking for inspiration. They want a reason. So it all depends on what you bring to the table. I mean, not every medical faculty can be transformational, but definitely naturopathy, lifestyle medicine is transformational. Like cardiology, for example, it can't get into transformational. It's got a specific job description, and they are specialists of an end procedure. If they don't do it, it's life threatening. So to say that he should be transformational and go beyond that heart attack and treat more is not fair. So, but then if you're taking the responsibility to prevent the heart attack, you can make 360-degree influence in the person's life. But that requires some serious maturity on your part, and of course, knowledge. If your version of knowledge is go take a morning walk and come back, then you have sold yourself short and then the patient short also. Then everybody loses. So there's a lot of responsibility that goes with what you do. Authentic information has to be provided. It can't just be something that sounds nice and the guy gets impressed, and you're just impressing people all day. So either you're speaking to express or you're speaking to impress. If you're speaking to impress, then there's no end to it. Then you just read something every day that's impressive and go and say it. But if you're trying to express the guy where he gets inspired and actually adheres to the plan that you give him, that's the most difficult part, because plans are available on Google also. The problem is doing it. So people need a reason. So that's where this field comes in. So practice has to evolve to that level. What Medini asked was whether practice is superficial or whether practice is, actual transformational. So that's a little tricky, with that aspect of it. It's a choice. It can't be forced on everyone. You get what I'm saying, Azuma? I mean, it'll become a Gyan session otherwise.
No, sir, it is, I'm trying to make the thing out of what you're trying to say, because it's like more than being, it's not just a protocol, or it's not how an organization works, but but in general, it's how a doctor or somebody who's in the position of a doctor should look into the healthcare needs of people and how they should be approaching. So I'm trying to process it. It's a huge philosophy that people have to come out of the consumerist mindset and start, thinking about all of this as well.
The patient will not come out of it. Like today morning also, I spoke to a few hundreds. I said, you guys are always transactional. No matter how holistic we claim we are, you will still ask transactional questions only. That's the problem with the current field is that way. They come here looking for a quick fix. Key. I have a headache, give me a Crocin. Don't give me a diet plan, which is fair enough because he's educated and he's read and he's found that there are 4 types of painkillers and I want one of them and I can't buy them because they are not over the counter. So kindly give me one painkiller, write it, I'll pay you. So that's what he's coming here for. But in the domain of lifestyle, that sales pitch which you have to make to him, where you prove not just yourself relevant, but your field relevant, it takes some serious selling and structuring. Like you have to wear different hats. You can't just wear the doctor hat and sit and expect people to ask you holistic questions. You have to create that need to play. You've seen the movie Inception, right? So you have to play Inception. You have to make him think up stuff that he never thought he needed to ask. But now because he's met you, he started asking those questions. And then he started asking them not just of you, but of himself. But that takes significantly deeper evolution of yourself. You like he will keep asking transact, mera cholesterol high, main kya karu? Mera cholesterol mein kya karu? Now you can't answer that by saying cholesterol doesn't exist. Now, that's not you can't give spiritual answers to transactional questions. You answer the transactional question. Yes, you go HDL, cholesterol, all the ratios, you talk about it. You complete the science. But that's not where your innovation has to end. Your innovation starts there. You can see, like my dad, he's a pediatrician. He used to always tell me that 30 years of practice. He said there's a choice in every practitioner's clinic to ask or not ask the $1 million question, which changes a consult from a 3-minute consult to a 30-minute consult. Do you know what that question is, Azuma? Guess what that question can be.
Is it how do you feel?
No, it's how are you?
Oh, okay.
When you ask how are you, a human being can answer anything from 3 minutes to 30 minutes. But nobody asks him that question. Now you have a choice. Either you ask it or you don't ask it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do to ask it. I'm saying you'll have to create a business model where it gets asked. Okay. Now the problem with Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, every pati, allopathy is they are asking with an agenda because they have a ready-made pati and a series of flowchart to follow. So they ask to fit you into that flowchart, into that pati. So yeah, the most important pati is missing, which is empathy. And if this empathy doesn't work, I tell them then I have sympathy. But the patis are always retrofitting the patient into there. Like if you talk to an Ayurveda guy, he's always listening. It's called cue-based practice. You're just waiting for the cue. The minute you got your cue, you fit it into your education. You've given him the solution chapter. The transaction is complete. Doesn't make it wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. And I'm not saying people who make a living that way are wrong. It's all good. It's just about what you choose to do. The patient needs a deeper solution sometimes. And it may not come from your education. But do you have the intent to go and find it? Or are you going to just say that, oh, it's not me who's going to do it? It's not me. Somebody else will do it. So, there's a concept in the internet called the 1-9-90 principle. Do you know that? It's called the 1-9-90 principle. So 1% of YouTube makes YouTube videos and uploads them. 1% of this world does that. 9% are distributors. They get up every morning, see a video and send it to 40 friends. Okay, they're playing the role of distribution. And 90% are pure hardcore consumers. They just watch and content. So in every profession, there's a 1,990. So similarly, in the medical profession, you can be the 1% who develops content for others to distribute and consume, or you can be a distributor and consumer yourself. Either ways, with your education, you always have a choice. But this is as far as the technical education goes. The actual dissipation of your academic and whatever you've learned in college, that's okay. My problem starts after that. The patient hasn't come to you asking those questions which you want him to ask in the first place, right? How do you get him to ask those questions? By distributing YouTube videos and Facebook content? It's not that simple. Or like I was telling somebody that day, I said, how do you make your content desirable and sexy that somebody comes and asks you for it? Like if you have to become a salesman of that product, which is very difficult. And that takes a long time to get good at. Anybody can get good at the art and science of weight loss. It's not rocket science after a point. Yeah, there are some technicals to it, but over 10 years, you learn everything there is to know. Same thing with getting clearer skin, for example. So you'll get the clarity, and then the ability to have hard conversations that, look, this is the limit of it. Like suppose I tell you, I want to be as fair as Ranbir Kapoor. And you'll tell me, you know what, we'll try. We'll do a 6-month thing. We'll detox. We'll do this. We'll apply these creams. But there is a natural physiologic genetic limitation, right, to fairness. And if you tell me that, I'll accept it and I'll still do the plan anyway because I need the other benefits of it. But if you're going to just not have that hard conversation, ki, look, we can't do this, then you're being unfair. And that's where everyone starts getting a bad name. I think honesty with the field and with others saying, you have a headache, the best thing to do is maybe if you're aligned to allopathy, go take a Crocin to be done with. Maybe it was some acidity, it's okay. But if you keep getting recurring headaches, then how many Crocins will you take? Because somewhere we need to go there. So then you create an aura around what it is you do. So people can it's the era of self-diagnosis anyway. Everybody is self-diagnosed. So you tell them, yeah, if you're getting 4 headaches in a row, 4 consecutive days, we need to look at more than just taking 4 Crocins. But then what? Why should I come to you? You know what I mean? And if I come to you, what are you going to do? I want to know that because I've already Googled that also. So it's fair enough. And it's his full right to do that. But how do you create, just as there are enough websites incepting the diseases, I think there aren't enough doctors, especially in the lifestyle field, incepting the cures. Like, yeah, everybody understands diet, exercise. Everybody understands that. But how do you make it sexy? Like any transformation is painful. So I don't want more gyan. Give me some dasu thing, which there's in the management parlance, they have 3 ways to get a human being to do something. One is to give him a carrot. Usko gajar dikhao. Ye kiya to ye milega. Second is the kati. Ye nahi kiya to ye I'll hit you or whatever. And the third way, which most people prefer, is you make that thing so attractive that the person just runs after it by himself only. Now, if naturopathy or whatever it is your field is, if you can make it so attractive that every person just wants to do it, then you've done your job. If you're just going to sit there with a gajar and say, oh, if you do 15 days of this, you will get 5 kg weight loss. And that's just transaction, or worse. Then you're a distributor, but let's come to the worst thing. If you don't do 15 days of fasting, then this will happen. Okay, using blackmail now. So this is very superficial stuff. Then you're a shopkeeper. I came to you, you said, these are my 2 weapons. Yeah, you take this or this. Next level would be getting him to come and ask you for stuff that he hadn't thought of. And how do you do that? So that goes into the Maslow's top tier, right? The self-actualization tier, where he's actually wants to be liberated and be the best he can be. And then you tell me, where does naturopathy fit in? Now then I'll come make a line to you, because everybody wants to self-actualize. Everybody wants to be the best they can be. But how does your field fit in there? How do you make it a necessity? Now this is advanced level thinking, which is what the future needs. We don't need more people just coming in and plugging in and trying to make a living off obese and diabetic people. There's enough of that, which is okay. Again, I'm not judging them. I'm saying, can we have 4 or 5 leaders in this sector who actually organize the out of box thinking sector, which is not easy. So that's where innovation and passion are the most overused words. Okay, so I'm very passionate about this. That's okay. That's a very good word. But passion without the right intent will not create innovation. Passion without right intent will just create more and more short-term goals, and you'll keep targeting, I need more patients, I need more patients. You don't need more patients. You need to make more difference to fewer patients first. But no, I want more patients. It's all about numbers, no? You start selling it on YouTube and stuff like that, creating videos. Like I said, it's a choice. It's all a choice. I'm not playing holier than thou, but there has to come from a deeper place. So cool. Like I told you, Azuma, no more monologues.
Sure, sir, sure. So with that, I guess I have understood, and most of our would have got an insight of what you're trying to tell. I'm totally sure what you're trying to tell is much more beyond what we are actually understanding right now, and something that we have to realize by ourselves in the first place and then go ahead. To proceed on, I wish if Dr. Medini could ask a few questions to you. Maybe it will be insightful for the young students to learn from the question and answer interaction.
Any of them could ask. Any of them could. Medini?
You made me sound old, Azuma.
Medini asks me questions every day. So.
Yeah, I mean, we usually are very hesitant because we always feel like, oh, having a, naturopathy background, would we be accepted into the conventional system of medicine? And this, this gave me a new light to my career was because of Dr. Malhar, because he gave me an opportunity to work at where I'm currently working at Freedom from Diabetes. But back of my head, even when I gave my interviews, let it be even in UK or in India, I used to always have this, thought behind my back, whether, they would accept me like as one of the conventional medicine practitioners rather than, just only a naturopathy doctor. So how would we overcome that? And I'm sure many people do feel inconfident about the same. So what's your take on this?
No, I think you just need to find your sweet spot. The one word that I learned in New Zealand, which was I can't thank my professor enough there for teaching me that word. He taught me the word collaboration. And he used to say that to make an athlete, it requires somewhere close to 20 people at different touch points to make an athlete. Like an Olympian like Neeraj Chopra has 20 people who have touched his lives at different points. Now, who's having to make sense of each of those touches is he himself, which is very difficult. So at times you need someone to control the chaos. And like there's this, again, it comes from there's a lot to learn from management, because they are building 20,000 crore companies with 25-30,000 employees. So there's a lot of structuring logic that goes into what they do. So whenever okay, ठीक doctor is one part, थोड़ा पढ़ाई कर लिया, 2-4 degree कर लिया, you have become a technically proficient in what you do. But to find an application in this world, you need to learn a lot more from other fields. So initially the collaboration is at an educational level. You'll talk to people, you'll realize, oh, that's how they're solving that problem of getting water filters to the whole city. How do they do that? There's a logic to it. There was no college course on distributing water filters, but the guy sat down with a piece of paper and built some logic, and he's doing it. But they ask those larger than life questions. These are the questions which, if you choose to ask as a naturopath, saying, how do I ensure naturopathy is in every allopathic clinic in this country? How? It's not an ego-driven question. It's a genuine question. Today, the allopaths may not be looking for it. But how do you create the need, saying, you know what, I don't have to make money from this immediately. I don't have to do all this. Can we just spread naturopathy into every allo? So you're collaborating. How do you collaborate with other pathis without sounding holier than thou is the most difficult part. The problem is the holier than thou. Everyone tries to sound holier than thou. My treatment is better and more long lasting and more holistic. See, again, it's all wordplay. End of the day, it's about what's right for the patient, right? So if you can teach an allopathic doctor, you know what, if he's got acidity, maybe I might just make this small change. Trust me, the allopathic doctor will do it. he doesn't really, he's not standing in the way of the patient. He just didn't know that he could do that. Like nutmeg helps with something. Okay, but make nutmeg available to me. No, don't just tell me nutmeg. But how will I make it available? Okay, it's available at these shops. So you have completed the loop in your communication with the allopath. You say, you know what, sir, these are the 4 things. Just give it and let me know how the results are. Do I want anything from you right now? No, I don't want anything. But if you get validation from 15 clinics and maybe 1,000 patients that nutmeg does work for something, you have found something that works in the Indian race, and that can be scaled up endless. To leave the scale to somebody else. There are enough people who are masters of scaling up enterprises. You are the technocrat because you have gone and studied that knowledge and you're passionate about it. So get deeper into clinical applications, get a nice, solve one puzzle. It's very easy to solve all puzzles. Now I'll do everything. I'll do from acidity to Alzheimer's to everything I'll cure. I mean, then that's a little stupid, because there are people out there with 25 years work experience who haven't been able to solve the puzzle, and you with 1 year in your diploma and you tell me I can solve it. That's, that's unnecessary. This thing, you're just trying to sound different. But if you want to be committed, I think the right thing to do is find a way to collaborate, because then 1,000 patients become your patient rather than you sitting in 200 square feet trying to wait for every patient and then proving मैंने 4 लोग का वजन कम करा है. Instead of doing that, you can do a lot more. You walk and see, India is a bit of the country of the no. When you'll first ask, the answer will always be no. So you go somewhere, can I do? No. But somebody somewhere will say yes, no, because you're perseverant with your asking. Somebody will say yes. And then you get your foot in the door, you start making a difference. If you're motivated to make a difference, if you need money, go get a job somewhere. You start making money at least. But that doesn't stop you from weekends from collaborating. See, commercial-less collaborating, then nobody can stop you because you don't want immediate money. But it takes a little evolved mindset. So I would urge all of you, since your field, I'm not saying your field is infant. I'm saying it's in its infancy in India in terms of public knowledge. It's in its infancy. Like, I didn't even know there was a course in SVSR till I met Medini. I didn't even know that. Then I understood that there's such a broad course and what scope of people come out of there that are such a perfect fit for us. I didn't even know that. Like, considering yoga, considering so many things she knows. I mean, but again, there hasn't been that kind of spread, no? So now who's going to take, it's going to take one generation who's going to create the awareness, no? So you're going to be that generation. But if all you're going to brainstorm is on praying the entire life cycle, 200 square feet clinic, I'm going to solve everything from this to that, then, then you're doing a disservice to the entire field as a whole. You know what I mean? It's not easy to understand what I'm saying, Azuma, but you'll be there in 5 years' time. You'll realize that, you're making a living, or you're, going a little beyond, and nothing wrong with either. You need to find a platform. Like now, Medini's got a platform. Her knowledge has met the patients. It's met scale. It's met a lot of things. So the kind of work that she's doing here, I doubt she would have been able to do it all by herself. It would have taken time. Not that she doesn't have the ability. She would have taken 10, 15 years to get there. But there'd be a lot of heartburn. There'd be a lot of struggle. There'd be multiple hats she would have to wear. One of a business owner, one of paying salaries, one of collecting money, coming up with a business model, finding people who'll distribute your products. You just end up doing a lot of things except what you really wanted to do, which was message a patient at 8 in the morning and say, Kiya kya wo exercise jo maine bola tha? So you get stuck into so many details rather than what it is you really were born to do or studied 6 years to do. Wo chhod ke you're doing everything else. And that's how it is. It's chaotic. So again, coming back to, what she would, collaboration initially, at least for the first 5-7 years, till you find your own strength, I would highly recommend. Otherwise you'll go do some PG and come back in some therapy and then realize that there's no market for it only.
Yes, that makes sense. Maybe the next question from Medini or anyone in the chat box, maybe you can put it up.
They can come on screen also and ask, don't worry.
Yeah, that's also fine with us.
Ayush, Shivani, Ami, Miri, Bhavna. It's an iPhone also. iPhones are everywhere. Manju, Priya, Shravani, Lochna. Now they're still, how old are averagely all of you? You're like in your 20s?
Yes, sir. 20s.
Still time to get confused.
I'm actually at that stage because that's why I'm not able to put up a question right now, because I'm actually questioning myself inside. Maybe that's why I'm asking Dr. Medini to take over.
No, Medini is just had a lot of exposure now. Medini, how long? 6 months now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, she's had a lot of exposure in 6 months. She's suddenly seen the potential impact of her education. So that gives a lot of satisfaction. Otherwise, you're always wondering, did I study the wrong course, or this course has the favorite Indian word, scope. It has no scope. I love that word, scope. Yeah, Miri, go for it, yeah.
So, as a student, in your time, if you could go back in our time and learn something extra in this field as a student, what would that be? Do you think you would take extra course even while doing BNYS so that it would help you later in your professional front?
To be honest, Miri, there is very little you are going to study extra that is going to help you at that age, because you don't even know how it's relevant in the world. You haven't seen its application of what you have studied yet. So what Google does is what is called the 10% disruption. So they take something that's already being done and then they make a little 10% addition on it, and then they call it their own. But to do that incremental innovation, so you're all studying BNYs, you'll have all passed out with a 4-year graduation. Now there's a 10% increment that everyone's trying to add to make themselves unique or special or whatever. But you don't really know what that 10% is, because you don't know the application of the 900% yet. You haven't seen it in the real world, how it's being used or misused or whatever. So till you don't use the 100, the 10 can't really, but what you could do yourself a favor, and which I wish I had done, was go and meet people out there. Now you're meeting me. You can actually go in your area, keep your eyes open, stop trying to be the wisest guy in the room, go and sit there and see what people are doing. And you'll see. And don't go to somebody who's just hypothetically successful right now. That's not the point. They may be across, like now, if you tie up with, say, for example, physiotherapists. Physiotherapists are adept at what they do in terms of physiotherapy. You just go and sit into a physiotherapist clinic and tell them, look, we have many naturopathy therapies for muscle spasms or lower back pain or cervical spondylosis. Now you all have solutions, don't you? Whether it's a physical solution or it's a nutritional solution, you have both. What's stopping you from collaborating with them? But you don't have to go there and bato gyan on the first day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying go to 10 physiotherapy clinics, get a feel for what's going on, have more conversations. I was very lucky in my graduation. I went to 3-4 clinics and I used to keep talking to those guys, and they told me, Malhar, please don't do PG till you know what you want to do with your life. Because once you have done PG, you're stuck.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
If you can hold on for 2 years, you'll do yourself a favor. Okay, just go and meet, keep your eyes open, take all that you've studied, go to 4-5 clinics and come. Get a feel for not your clinics, not the same weight loss and the same BP and the same. वो करने को जिंदगी पड़ा है, and वो you will learn anyway. That is not rocket science. But if you can learn to collaborate faster, you'll save yourself a lot of, because your eyes will open. No? You'll be like, oh, that also, oh yeah, I have seen that. I know what we can do over there. Suddenly you start providing solutions for stuff that you didn't even know that you knew. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Just before you open your own apni dukan, na, just wait for some time.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Miri. That was a great question. Even I had this question, but again, I was hesitant to ask because was it our part to think about? I guess as students, we all have this kind of dilemma whether we are going in the right track or are we sticking to what people of this field are thinking about, trying to fit in and all of that. But on what I feel right now is most people are providing a transactional service rather than a holistic one, but claiming to be, or they're trying to be holistic, but they somehow end up to be transactional. And then while listening to them and trying to follow them, we also end up being transactional. I think that's one point where we have to realize what's happening and come out of what and choose, just as you told, make a choice of how we want our lives and the career to be. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Shravani, I am not a gynecologist and neither am I don't know anything about efficiency of underwater delivery in practicality. You have asked a question to which I don't know whether any of us is qualified to answer. Or maybe you're attending 2 chats at one time. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Just take it a little slow. I'm just saying, find there are lots more scope for collaboration than there is for independent practice. Because these are not fields that were meant for others. You just keep forming institute after institute and call it institute. So you'll have to have your own big shop, and because it's not an end treatment. Na? It's never going to be solitary. You'll have to collaborate with many people. The guy can't keep coming to you for the rest of his life. Finally, he has to go back and get some solutions of his own. And I frankly don't know too much about your syllabus, but what I've heard from Medin is it's very comprehensive. There's a lot you study from anat, physio. You'll do a lot. So it's never going to be that simple that you will be a one-stop. And especially since you guys don't prescribe medicines per se directly, there will always be a need for that. Somebody will be, and 80% people are taking medicines anyway. So how are you going to collaborate with those medicines? You're indirectly collaborating with allopathy anyway, because you're already taking those medicines. You're just not collaborating with allopaths. But that's the next step. What's the harm? So what we do at FFD is a perfect marriage of naturopathy, allopathy. In fact, we have Ayurveda doctors also with us who help us with certain tasks, and homeopathy also. So we use the best of all the pathis. Exercise doesn't have a pathi, but there's exercise pathi also. So there's everything. No? So then the patient wins. Otherwise, it's each one, it's called WICOS in medicine. You know what WICOS stands for? WICOS. It stands for who is captain of the ship. So when the patient comes to you, you say you go to the dietitian. Okay, dietitian gives diet plan. Then dietitian, okay, you need medicine, go to doctor. Doctor take doctor. Doctor says now you need exercise, go to gym trainer. So who's the captain of the ship? Patient. So this captaincy issue is always there in the patient's life. So if you're going to take captaincy, then you need to ensure that you're equipped to take captaincy, and your model, whatever business model you adopt, has that clear-cut ability to handle that load of all that multi-touch point. Otherwise, you're just a one-man show talking as 5 people. So you wear the hat of a yoga expert, then you wear the hat of a dietitian, then you wear the hat of a doctor. It won't work like that. Patient will realize that you're a jack of all and a master of none. So it's better to have a system where you can't be a jack of all. No? You have to be a master of one at least. So naturopathy is an open-ended science. That's the problem. It's not a one end. No? It's like I told you, it's not like cardiology where that's it. Like I'm a heart specialist. It's limited there. Like you can't beat me there. And don't confuse over there. I know what to do. I know everything. But naturopathy is again, it's a supporting thing. It's lifestyle driven, right? So you're not fixing one problem. You're the entire car you're willing to service. But then you need to support the guy who's fixing one thing, or call him in when you have to fix that one thing. No? That's why collaboration becomes very necessary. Otherwise, it'll become a fight.
True, sir, true. So I think we have come to the end of this session because again, if Medini, if you're having any questions to us that will help us,
Yes,
great.
I do have a question. So, as you mentioned, sir, that naturopathy is, of course, naturopathy and yoga is a very broad spectrum. So, something little about my background where I further went to pursue my master's in diabetes. So, do you also ask these students like to choose a specific, postgrad, or do you ask them to continue with a broad spectrum? Because there are even courses after undergraduation like MD in yoga, MD in naturopathy, which is again a very broad spectrum. So would you ask them to choose one particular lifestyle disorder or a combination of all, or how is it?
You narrow your own options if you do that too early. It's like getting married too early. You're just going to get stuck there. You're stuck there, you're stuck there then. And if it's a bad marriage, then you're bad. So if you're going to get married to say MD in yoga, then every room you walk into, people are going to just expect yoga gyan. You better decide whether you want to do that early. Like in your 20s, it's too early. Like I did my postgrad, I think almost early 30s. So it takes time to really know which are the right questions to ask. Otherwise, you'll keep asking transactional questions there also. Because all you're doing, when I finish my thesis, what thesis question I'll take? What is this? What is this? What is you keep asking those? You're also transactional only, because you're assuming when you pass out as an MD yoga, you're the only MD yoga this side of the Suez Canal. When you will pass out, you realize nobody really cares. So then you have to make use of that degree. So you're all the time stuck with what's the value proposition of what you have studied, because nobody's going to teach you how to make value of it. They're going to tell you the name of the degree and how many years you studied, but credibility and value are not taught, not distributed anywhere. They have to be earned. Now, more than Medini's degree, she will walk into any place in the country and say, I've treated more than 2,000 patients at Freedom from Diabetes. Now, that work experience is priceless. I've distributed so many diet charts or whatever. I'm aware of the renal issues. I'm also, that work experience is almost equal to the postgrad degree. And after a while, the postgrad will remain constant, but what will keep widening is the work X. That exposure is priceless, which is why I wouldn't jump into anything this early. I mean, just 2-3 years of roaming in the field a bit, and diabetes is as good as broad-ended only, because diabetes covers a large spectrum of, it's a metabolic syndrome, so it covers 10 things. It's not really, it's not an end. What would be an end would be, again, I don't know, but something which is very specific. Like you go and do one thing and then you insist that everything is connected to it. And then that won't work, because like, for example, I don't know anything, but I'm speculating. Let's say you take hydrotherapy. You've done a master's in hydrotherapy. I'm happy for you. But then how are you going to make sense of that? How are you going to make value of that? Who are you going to sell it to? Where are you going to work? Are there any current people using hydrotherapy as a sustainable business where you would go and work? I don't know. So you've kind of victimized yourself then by studying that, because you've become a victim of your own education, because now nobody really has created value of that. Then you're stuck with the value creation, business model creation, sustainability creation, and hopefully valid concept creation also. I'm assuming the science is there, but there's no art and commerce of it as yet. You will get stuck with creating the art and the commerce and the sales, and like I said, victim. The way I look at it is, you're anyways meant, if you're meant to be a leader, you'll be a leader anyway, whether or not the commerce and art is there. But then if you start out with a sort of very, very closed-ended degree, then you've cut your own wings, because you come for an interview to me, I'll say, an MD in yoga. Okay, we can hire you as a consultant. You shoot videos for us like thrice a month or something, and we'll circulate those videos. You've studied 8 years here. Your knowledge level is different. You have a different perspective of it, but our need may not be there. You get what I'm saying? So that just, if you rush it, and then nobody does 2 PGs and 3 PGs, and that's too much. So, which is why then, and then, like I said, the graduation has 4 years of subjects in it, but for some reason you'll decide to specialize only in the final year subjects, which I don't understand why. There were 3 more years of subjects which you could have liked. but we won't go there because we've got obsessed with who's the smartest in the final year subjects. But all those subjects have a particular demand. That's why they were taught, right? From physiology to anatomy, there's so many subjects you could have specialized in, but you go after the 4 in the last year. So that's why they stay a couple of years, work, get a feel for what's happening in India and abroad. And don't just be in a hurry to wear the white coat and walk in and give speeches, because there are people 25 years older than you in the field who haven't been able to crack certain puzzles, despite having been into it for 25 years with the right intentions. So sometimes it's better to just learn from them what they have been up to, and then add your 10% on it. You don't have to build 100. You can collect the 90 and build the 10 collaborating. It's easier. Again, it's a choice. Azuma's giving the look, stare at the wall look now, Medini.
Yeah, this is so true. Like most of our seniors as well, they're mostly gone into like research. I think there are very few who actually do a clinical practice setup like all by themselves, unless they've collaborated with someone. So that's a very good point, insightful.
Blend into both, yeah. Have the research and can have your cake and eat it, but you have to collaborate accordingly. Otherwise, the victim thing will happen, because you'll just land up with, hey, you're a professional. You're not just desperate for a job. You're a professional. You have many options. But if that same knowledge becomes a burden because it has no tangible value, then you land up with, then you're just struggling all the time, trying to, somebody koi to rahega jisko isme. And you finally land up at some 5-star hotel, convincing them to have a center or something like that. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with any of this, but then the customer perception is not there of value. Customer perception is of, I just want to relax. That, it's become very like relaxed detox kind of thing. But if there has to play a much larger role, then you'll have to fit into one of the already validated fields. And there are many of them. So you can choose anything. But it all depends. If you have ego and scale, I have to do it big.
Right.
Then go do it on your own and invest 1 or 2, 5 crores and then do it. But if you're willing to do it the hard way, which is just find your place in it, first. What's the hurry?
True. Yeah, it's a stereotype usually because we don't prescribe medicines.
Yeah.
So they usually say, yeah, it's good that you can, have your own spa and all of it. But I believe that it's beyond spa, beyond wellness, both naturopathy and yoga. So I think there it depends on oneself how they want to, project themselves and collaborate with the other systems of medicine.
Every field needs a Tendulkar. So even cricket was not cricket before he came along. So if one of you is destined to be that, carry that cross, to make that thing, then somebody's got to do it. Otherwise, at least in your field, the knowledge base is only so low that the customer perception is not there. Then you're going to be stuck transactional only. It's a 7-day treatment.
Right.
But if you want to go beyond 7-day into truly 365-day, then there's got to be some, there's got to be a serious innovation in terms of relevancy, for lack of a better word. Problem is relevancy. Why is it relevant to me for 365 days? I'll do it for 4 days. I want to reduce my BP.
Correct.
Then what? Roj pina padega yehi. And then what's your answer? So where are those sophisticated, cultured answers to those barbs of criticism which will come? So there's got to be a sophisticated defense, which is not, nahi to goli khate raho, and that's argumentative. So, but till you don't have that level of, vocabulary in place, it's going to be difficult. Like, like you can make fun of cricketers also. What does he do all day? He stands at the boundary, hits a shot. I mean, come on. Is that really? Is he contributing to the nation? It's an endless debate. But tell you the truth, the guy, he liberated a whole nation with the way he plays. Yeah, 5'4", walks onto the ground with one piece of wood in his hand, and the country has hope. You got to give that guy, your hair stands up on your neck. Yeah. But he's carried it with that level of grace and elegance, and made, you just change the game, right? So it requires one Tendulkar here in this field. So everyone's just going to be consumer, then it's one thing. But the 1, 9 and 90 has to play out somewhere. Right now, there are a lot of 9s and there's a hell of a lot of 90s. I haven't seen the 1 yet. No. So there are people, of course, there are people who have done it, but which one of you is going to do it is the larger question to ask, which is again a choice. Nobody can force you to ask it. Azuma is going to start asking it today only.
That is totally true, because I guess the journey forward is going to be different from after listening to you. So yeah.
I just hope you find what you're looking for, man. Let's see, where are these people?
I guess we just have to question ourselves on where we stand in the Maslow's triangle and make choices. So
yeah, but you have to go through all the layers, no? First, you can't start at the top. So you'll have to go through the roti kapda makans. I mean, it's not necessary that you have to go through it in terms of an EMI, but you have to pay your dues to the profession. You have to do the donkey work first. The ones where you're sitting there and people's belittling what you do, and there will be people who make fun of what you do, saying kya karta hai. So kya karta hai, kuch nahi, pani pilata hai, raat ko ye bolta hai, ek soup deta hai. They will say that. It's okay. You don't have to lose your self-esteem and your sleep just because 3 people didn't see value in what you did. There will be those who don't get results. There will be those who have false expectations. It's all good, but you have to stand your ground, no? So, like I said, that period of going through the bad aspects, you're protected right now, no? Because you're in an institute. When you'll actually take on your first consumer and you take money for it, and the result doesn't come as per his or her expectation, and then the social media shaming which will happen. So how are you going to handle all that? See, this is the period of grace and elegance which I'm talking about, which you'll have to remain committed to what you do and not sell out and say, yaar, wo thoda side mein ek Crocin de dene ka saath mein. Kuch nahi hota hai. Crocin diya to theek ho jata hai. That, that's it. You'll succumb to it. Or worse, you'll start questioning yourself. What am I doing here, man? And grass is always greener. तो you'll say, यार उनका तो अच्छा है, 40 पेशेंट बैठे रहते हैं, यहाँ 2 आते हैं और मेरे को 2 हफ्ते लगते हैं और फिर भी रिजल्ट नहीं आता because I know he cheats. So this blame game will start and blah blah blah. So that, like if you see that movie The Last Samurai, that guy says an amazing quote. He says it's a perfect blossom. So he says the tree has blossomed, right? So he says you could spend your entire life looking for the perfect blossom, and it wouldn't be a wasted life, even if you don't find it. So you could choose that one question within naturopathy which fascinates you, wakes you up at 6 in the morning, doesn't let you sleep at night. You're just constantly searching for answers, and at the end of it, you may not find the answer, but it's not a wasted life, because at least you spent it purposefully. You found 1,000 ways to not do it. You may not have found the way to do it. So is there an anti-diabetic vegetable out there which is one-stop shop, insulin secreting like an insulin plant? I don't know, but it's not my question. It could be yours. Spend the next 30 years digging up trees under mountains and finding that jadi booty. You find it, it's yours. We'll name it after you and you'll become a billionaire. If you're not, you were 1 away from it and you never knew. You were at 999, but that's life. And the guy who came after you found it. Okay. But my point is, did you spend 99? Because he built it on your shoulder, right? He realized there are 999 that don't work. Well, that's research. But some of us blend clinical and research because we believe there isn't enough time to only do research. We like the clinical side of it. If you like the clinical side of it, do it. You can have your cake and eat it. But again, what's the question? Is the question, how quickly do I finish PG, delay my marriage, and then just sit down and then try and make a name for myself and Facebook promote my practice and get some patients and show how I'm different from everybody? I mean, then you're always proving a point. Not fun, because after a point you'll realize nobody cares. Genuinely nobody cares. And you'll be like, I'm only proving a point instead of proving a theory. Proving a theory would have been much more interesting than proving a point. But then you get stuck in that. When you're on the late 20s, early 30s, you'll be doing that. And then you'll have dissatisfaction by 35 saying, people don't like what I do. There's no value in this country. And all that will start. That speech. Anyway, I don't want to bore you more, Azuma. It's good enough.
Yes.
Medini is
So
like, one of the
Medini, I
rants
guess
has started,
earlier-
huh, Medini? One of the rants has started.
No, not at all. In
Ah.
fact, to end on a good note, I would like to tell like whoever is there on this platform and who would be watching us further that I really love my job because we have to literally tell people how to exercise, how to eat food. So don't lose that opportunity because telling people how to eat, what they should eat is something they should be knowing, but teaching them is also a different art altogether. So I'm enjoying doing that. So yeah, take this as a learning lesson, and of course. So has already made us question ourselves. So
Just widen the questions. I'll just give you one last tip, before we end. There's a concept in I think one of those things where they say, when a patient comes to you, now you have a choice where you say, oh yeah, like suppose he comes to you with a particular problem. You tell him, yeah, I know how to solve this. You do one thing, you go to that guy. He's the right guy. Next time someone comes to you, say, oh, that's you go over there. So you're always, it's called someone else's problem. So when someone comes to you with a problem, you have two choices. Either you tell him who will solve his problem, or you sit down and help him solve it. So either you take him to that guy, ensure he gets a solution, work out in a way in which you have led the collaboration, you are the captain, or you just become that referral guy who says, it's not my problem, man, it's his problem. If you have weight issues, I'm your guy. Anything other than weight is not my problem. It's someone else's problem. By default, the patient is someone else's problem. So you have a choice. Now, yes, don't get into fields that don't concern you and that you're not a specialist in. There we don't go. The weekly when someone gets varicose veins, we tell them, you know what, it's not our field. Please go to somebody who's good at that. And it's genuinely his problem, it's genuinely not our problem. But if it's well within your sphere of education, then you should have the guts to say, I'll provide you an end-to-end solution. It's not that I'll give you the first 20%, then you're someone else's. It's like school. First 3 years, my problem. After that, tuition teacher. After that, high school, then college. So all the time, the stakeholders are changing. The patient is confused. So if you can build an end-to-end model like we have, or better still, find your spoke within an end-to-end model, which gives you terrific joy. I love doing this. Then stick doing that and find better and better and better ways to drag. Suppose we have 1,000 patients a month. We have difficulty with all 1,000 implementing everything that we tell them. It's a problem. They do not implement. We have about 70% implementation. So 30% do not implement everything. Now that's a puzzle that we sit with every day. How do we get 100% implementation for 100% people? How? Is there one answer? No. But can I tell those 30% it's not my problem? I have given you the solution. Go. Do it on your own. No. Because we are making that problem our problem. So that, again, choices. It all comes down to choices. And you can ask, it all starts with asking, how are you? Or not. It all comes down to that. Either you ask it or you don't ask, and which is both are fine. It's all about who you are. Okay. Chalo, cool. Any other questions?
I guess we have reached the end of the session
Yeah,
today.
no worries.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I guess I'm probably going to take a few more days or months to really take out all the insight and all the treasure that you have spilled in this 1 hour. But even then, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, don't cry.
I don't know.
Existential crisis.
Thank you,
Happens.
Dr. Medini. Thank you so much for coordinating and asking some insightful questions that we really could take some lessons away. Thank you so much for that one as well. Thank you, Dr. Malhar, once again. Thank you so much. Maybe I'll take another month or so to thank you on a whole scale. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. Chalo, see you.
Sure. Thank you, sir.